Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to set up and install a Raspbian to your SD card so you can use it for your Raspberry Pi. So for this video I'm going to install Raspbian with the desktop, but if you want to install Raspbian Lite you can also watch this video because the first steps are all the same except when you want to install the VNC viewer. And I'm going to mention that in the video so you can stop if you are willing to just install Raspbian Lite. It's actually a lot easier to use Raspberry Pi OS with a desktop, but if you want to have like a light version of the OS and if you don't want to download a large file, so you can just download the Raspbian Lite and you can just get your project done. But if you want to enjoy the OS, I recommend using the one with the desktop. So if you don't really know which SD card to use, I do recommend using SanDisk Ultra or Samsung Evo Plus with at least 16 GB as memory storage. And if you already have your SD card, you wanna plug it into your PC or laptop. And first of all, we are going to download Raspberry Pi Imager for Windows. So just click on it and it's going to download. Now it's not downloading, so I'm going to open it and install it. Install, finish. So you want to choose your OS. Now here you have two choices actually. You can either download the OS online, like a Raspberry Pi Imager will download it for you and write it to your SD card, or you can download the OS from here. Here is the one with the desktop and here is the one Lite. You can also download the one with the desktop and recommended software if you want some more software. And after downloading it from here, you can select it. So you are going to click on select custom image from your computer, but it's actually a lot easier to download it just online. So Raspberry Pi Imager will do the whole thing for you. So I'm going to select this one and now I'm going to choose my SD card. Here 16 GB and then you are going to choose write. As you can see, all existing data is going to be erased, so you want to make sure that you don't have anything on your SD card. So yes, it won't take a lot of time, just a couple of minutes. So as you can see guys, the OS is now written to our SD card. So you can click continue and close the program. And now you want to unplug your SD card from your PC or laptop and plug it again. As you can see, here it is boot. So now we are going to use SSH so we can connect to our Raspberry Pi in order to install VNC viewer so we can connect to our desktop. So the first thing we are going to do is actually we are going to make the SSH file. It's very easy to do it. So we are going to use Notepad++. So if you don't have it, you can download it from here. So install it. Next, agree. Install. Now Notepad++ is done. What we are going to do is actually we are going to make a new file. So just type anything and delete it. You want the file to be totally empty. So we are going to choose file, and then save as, and then we are going to choose our SD card, name the file SSH and type all types. It's very important to choose this one and save it. And you can close Notepad++. And now we want to unplug our SD card and connect the Raspberry Pi with your laptop or PC. After that, you want to go to network and internet settings, then choose Wi-Fi and change adapter options. And now you want to share your connection with the Ethernet. So here, allow other computer to connect through this computer network and select Ethernet. And click OK. And after that, you want to open the CMD. And now we are going to use the ARP table to see the new IP address of the Raspberry Pi. So just type this command. And as you can see, this is the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. And most of the time, the MAC address will start with B827. So when you see this MAC address, you will know that this is the IP address. And sometimes it takes a little bit to see the IP address. So you wanna try the ARP command a couple of times in order to see the IP address. So now we know that this is our IP address, and we are going to use to connect to it through the SSH that we have already set up. So we are going to type SSH Pi because the user is Pi, the system is new, and the default user is Pi, and then the IP address, which is 192.168.137.78, and hit enter. As you can see here, are you sure you want to continue? Type yes. And now the default password for Pi is Raspberry, so Raspberry. And now, as you can see, we are inside the system. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually to change the default password for the user Pi, and I'm going to unblock the Wi-Fi, and I'm going to update and upgrade the whole system. So first thing, changing the default password would be just type passwd, the current password, which is Raspberry, and choose a new password. And now we are going to unblock the Wi-Fi. So type sudo rfkill unblock WLAN. So now we're going to unblock the Wi-Fi. Use this command. And now I'm going to upgrade and update the whole system. So sudo apt update, and now sudo apt upgrade. So if you are trying to set up Raspbian Lite, you are actually done, because the next step is going to be to install VNC viewer, and we are going to use it to reach the desktop, or so we can connect and see the desktop of the Raspberry Pi. But if you are installing Raspbian Lite, you are actually done, because there would be no desktop, and this would be it. You can access your Raspberry Pi through the SSH command, or you can download programs like PuTTY, which you can use to SSH into your Raspberry Pi. So now the last step is going to be to install real VNC viewer, so we can connect to our desktop. It's actually just a couple of commands. First, update. We have already updated our system, so I'm going to install VNC. And now we want to enable VNC viewer on our Raspberry Pi, so just type raspi config or sudo raspi/config, and now choose interfacing option, VNC. Would you like the VNC server to be enabled? Yes, VNC is enabled. And now we are done. We are going to download VNC on our Windows, so just download it from here. The link is also in the description down below. Download VNC, install it. Oh, I already have it, so I'm just going to close it. Yes, finish. So VNC. Now here we want to enter the IP address, or the same one that we have used to connect to our Raspberry Pi through SSH, Yeah, so this was my IP address. Connect. As you can see, continue. The username is pi, and the new password. So yes, we are finally in Raspberry Pi. The default password for the user Pi has not been changed. It actually has been changed, so I don't know why I'm seeing this message, but just ignore it. And here are some configuration you can do. So you can select your country, time zone, language, and all this stuff. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to close it. So the last thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to change the resolution because it's really bad. So I'm going to preferences, Raspberry Pi configuration, and display, set resolution like this. I can't even reach the OK button. Here is it. Okay. Yes, it's going to reboot. So I'm going to connect to my Raspberry Pi again through the same IP address. So yeah, it's now actually a lot better with high resolution. So yes guys, this is it. We have downloaded the Raspbian and installed it on our SD card, and then we have used SSH so we can connect to our Raspberry Pi and download VNC. And now as you can see, we are now in the desktop of the Raspberry Pi, so you can always use VNC with the same IP address. And if sometimes the IP address change, it doesn't happen a lot, but if it did change, you can use the ARP command that we have used to check your new IP address. And I don't think that you are going to need that because the IP doesn't change a lot. So you can use the same IP to connect to your Raspberry Pi, and now you have a newly installed fresh Raspbian OS with a desktop. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it, especially because my channel is pretty new. So that's it guys. I know the video was a little bit too long, but I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope that it did help you to set up your Raspberry Pi. Thanks a lot.